do you want to get onto your Western Force rant?
Oh, let's rant.
I feel like we were just ranting about the Wallabies, but take it away, Haz.
All right, so I've just been biding my time, waiting for Simon Cron to do something that I actually approved of. But we all had high hopes. He was meant to be the Waratahs head coach for a period there. God, we felt pretty bad when he left. And I've got to say, 6 weeks in, I'm so thankful that he left because I have absolutely no idea what he's doing. It makes absolutely no sense to me. And it's just infuriating. And I know I'm not the only person thinking this. First of all, there seems to be absolutely no long-term plan for the Western Force whatsoever. He's brought in so many internationals that are not eligible for the Wallabies. He's not bringing in any Wallabies back. He's not trying to poach good players from other New South Wales or Brumbies or Queensland sides, with the exception of maybe Jeremy Williams and Folau. But there's so many players there that there's no point. Like, why are you bringing in an English halfback that's going to be here for one season, who's already has a signed contract to go back next year, and then making him captain after 3 years when you have two good halfbacks in your squad that are both Australian eligible? Like, it makes absolutely no sense. Isaac Fines has sped up the game and looked good every time he comes onto the field, and yet Gareth Simpson, the pommy half that we'll never see again after this year, is playing for the side. Makes no sense. Then we bring in freaking Kiribiji. I don't care if he's fast. I just don't care at all. Why is he here? Why is he here? He's not hanging around. And you got Manasa Mataele, who's not even been picked. He was their star player by a country mile last year. The only opportunities he's had, the ball hasn't been given to him at all, and now they're not picking him in the 23 unless there's an injury. Not to mention the fact that the bloke has an Achilles overload issue with two other players. The captain, Michael Wells, and Folau have all missed games now because they've overcooked their Achilles. That says one thing. That says in the preseason they massively overdid their running, completely blew out their loads, and have got consistent overload issues through the side. Their S&C only started in January, so did the old S&C completely screw the program, or did the new S&C screw the program? Because start of January is long enough to screw the program. So either way, they stuffed something up big time, and it all falls back on the head coach. It makes no sense to me, their selections. It's just absolutely doing my head. Jeremy Thrush.
Can we join in?
Yeah, go, please.
Yeah. Thrush is one. We said, what the fuck is that guy the answer to? And it's fucking nothing. And we say that with all due respect to Jeremy Thrush. That's not a crack at Thrush. It's the guy's retired. The guy's retired, and they started talking about like he's going to be the savior. They brought in, instead of giving Few, who had a dominant season in New Zealand last year, instead of giving him a crack at 8, they still haven't done it other than bring him off the bench. They brought in a guy that has a long-standing injury issue from the Waratahs, who was playing at the Tars, so he had been there for a week, maybe max. Listen to this, right? So these are players that are on short-term deals that have played for them this year. Marley Pearce on the bench last week. Tom Horton, short-term. Jeremy Thrush, the bloke was retired and played a bunch of games. Raboni Warren Voseatho, brought in from the Tars, short-term. Gareth Simpson, brought in short-term, leaving the end of the year. They had Fuliaki, I'm pretty sure, debuted for them off the bench, short-term. Kibarigi, short-term. That is concerning. That's 7 or 8 blokes that have got short-term bracketed next to their contracts. And they're not winning now. They're not building for the future. What are they doing if they're not doing those two things?
Is Spinks short-term as well?
Sam Spinks 2 years, mate. So let's be honest, he's probably buggering off.
Yeah, and Kibarigi apparently might stay for another year. But again, like the team then has, Tony Pulu, Manasa Mataele. Yes, Pulu's eligible. I get it. Mataele. They've got Tia. They've got, who else have they brought in that's not eligible that we haven't named already?
Is Kalapu eligible? I think he is, isn't he?
Yeah, Kalapu is, yeah. But there's a very, very long list. Robolo, he's not eligible. Let's bring him in. Medrano, yeah, he's been good enough that you can get in there. But it's just...
Pullman's not eligible because I refuse to accept that he is.
Who?
Exactly.
And Eddie himself said, what is, like... We need to. There's most of these players aren't Australian eligible. He said it himself in the interview that he had. So he thinks there's an issue there. We've got 5 teams that are maybe not reaching the level they need to, but we've got all this talent overseas. The Force have really been stuffed over a few years back when they got kicked out. There's no sign really that they're trying to change that and bring back in Aussies back into this squad. And I'm sure they would have allowance to spend more than what they need to, but instead they're bringing in Kiwis and they're bringing in English people. I love Sam Spink. He's in my fantasy side, but seriously, it's
it's just contrasted and made even worse by Kevin Foote and the Melbourne Rebels doing such a good job and their backroom being so on top of this plan of building cohesion in the side, sending their teams up to the Queensland Rugby Club competition at the back end of last year to build combination and improve their cohesion there, signing back players that have played for the Melbourne Rebels before, trying to build cohesion in the side over a long period of time, bringing through all their juniors that you're now seeing, these big Islander boys that are extremely talented that have had the pathways and made the under-20 side. Like, there's such a good long-term plan there. And the Western Force have had way more money at their disposal, seemingly, and done absolutely nothing with it.
Well, I think the harsh thing is obviously they've had the continuity of not losing a team at any point, but bring in some of these Western Force, juniors, and give them a crack and give them, that build towards the future. Actually do, something positive for West Australia, because getting in foreigners, yes, I know that's pretty much what Western Australia is anyway. It's not doing anything for them. It's not.
We missed Medrano as well on our ineligible players.
Yeah,
I think you got to him as well. Old mate Medrano.
I want to see more Western Australians getting a crack at this. I want to see them bring home someone else. Bring home an Isaac Lucas. Bring home, whoever the fuck is. I don't really care, but bring back some Aussies and build some of that, future building with Australian players.
I'll be honest. Why would you sign there? If you're an Australian player, why would you sign there? No one is making a name for themselves in that side. Even good players go there and immediately fall down the ranks. Hamish Stewart has been talked about as a possible inside centre. He's been playing pretty well, and I don't think he's got a hope in hell. I just don't think anyone's going. I think Folau Fanga's international career is over. They're done.
I agree on that of Folau Fanga. Tim Anstey, I think he's put his name forward.
Yeah, but you get to live in a nice house and the sun sets over the water in Perth. So, it's all swings and roundabouts here. It's I reckon that you guys could do an entire podcast and even an episode and just entitle it Dear Simon Cron. But to our faithful listeners, if you've bared with us for the Western Force rant, please well done, and get after Harry and Nelson and at Draft Rugby on Twitter and let us know your thoughts on the old Western Force, and how many of those players are in your fantasy side, and whether or not Manasa Mataele should be playing every week or not.
Both Mataelis. I know it flies in the face of what we said. Just start.
I did say that. I did say that at the start of the season. I said just put both Mataelis on the wings, and that's
all for it.
All right, well, look, I think that's going to round out another very short and tight episode of the Draft Rugby Show.